Can you introduce yourself?
This is a very challenging
Yes.
question, actually. So, I come from Tamil Nadu. So, I did all my studies in bachelor's, master's, starting from diploma from Tamil Nadu. I did bachelor's from Banariaman, diploma from Rukmini Sharma, and MTech from PH Tech. Then I worked for a mill in denim mill in India. I worked for SGS in India. Then I went to do my PhD in life cycle assessment in textiles in 2008.
Oh.
When no one thought of LCA. So, me and my professor wanted to do LCA in textiles. Many people said, are you sure you want to do something on this? Because no one knows what you talk about. But still, I wanted to really do this. And I'm happy that, whatever I did.
Yeah, good foresight you had.
Yes, thanks to my professor. He's a godfather of textiles, Professor Ely. I'm really thankful to him forever. He chose me that I'm the right candidate to develop all the models. I did a LCA in textiles from Hong Kong Polytechnic University, 2008 to 11. Then I worked for companies in Hong Kong, like SGS Hong Kong for 5 years. I worked for 2 brands. Then I was with another third party as the head of sustainability called SGT for 5 years. For the past 3 years, I'm with a third party called Green Story. So it's a company registered in Canada, Amsterdam, and India. I lead the entire LCA team, which consists of almost postdocs, doctorates, and masters. So we do life cycle assessment for various brands, retailers, manufacturers across the globe. We work with China, Indonesia, Vietnam, Bangladesh, Europe, Africa. So far, I visited many hundreds of factories across the globe. I don't see any countries exempted where the textile is produced. By God's grace, I was able to see. And I've been working with Higgindex since 2011, since its inception. I still remember the days where I worked with 6-7 people to draft the Higgs standard in 2011 to 13 or 14 and verification standard. So far, I've written 160 to 200 books on life cycle assessment, handbook of carbon footprint. All my books are published by Springer, Woodhead, Elsevier. So you'll be able to see, and I'm sitting with Journal of Textile Institute as a subject matter expert and subject editor for sustainability. Also, I work with a lot of journals. I would say that in a week, I review at least a dozen of articles on various aspects coming to textile sustainability. I'm also working as a professor in BIT and also one more KCG institutions. And whenever I have time, absolutely, I write books. I work with students, researchers. So I make sure that I bring back something to the society. That's what ultimate aim of anyone, and I'm doing. And then working with sustainability is my passion. So I just want to do it. And I'm also one of the committee members of product environmental footprint category rules for textiles and apparel. Last year, I was invited by European Commission. I was very humbled, and I feel very blessed that they invited me as an expert to go through the life cycle assessment data sets for almost 100 plus data sets for textiles, apparel, which is all leaning towards PEP 3.2. So I was able to do all that. And PEP-CR committee I have been associating with, and one of the EPD verifiers as well. So this is a very short footprint. And every day I just work only with the green side of the story. Even though I'm a textile technologist, I work with manufacturers, brands, retailers in terms of making them sustainable, making the planet sustainable.
Fantastic.
Thank you very much.
In fact, you have been conducting a seminar on LCA, and also, you have also having interactions with the T, particularly for taking an LCA impact report on cluster basis, right? So, because of that ESPR, we would like to have some clarity for the clusters. Could you explain how these, particularly that European sustainability product regulations, impacts the knitwear sector, particularly Tiruppur?
Right. So thank you so much for arranging this, and thank you so much for this opportunity to answer all these questions. So ESPR, as everyone knows, they target few aspects, including durability of the products,
Yes,
repairability, recyclability. So when I say recyclability of the product, when you produce a product itself, the product should be having the ability to be recycled. Plus, it should also have reducing the environmental impacts. So that's an overall aim. It includes various aspects. So the ESPR is targeting about digital product passports, measuring carbon footprint and repair instructions. So when it comes to knitwear sector especially, so it is talking about, again, if you ask me, altogether knitwear. So if you talk about a woven cluster versus knitwear cluster, the differences are very clear. because knitwear is a very quick process. So that comes with the different level of environmental impacts compared to the woven one. When it comes to Tiruppur, that's why we wanted to do this with tea as a cluster.
Yes.
So Tiruppur cluster, which is completely bestowed with the knitwear industry, it has its own portfolio. For example, including ZLD, including all the waste is completely almost recycled. So all this will be having a drastic influence on the reduction of environmental impacts, be it energy footprint, carbon footprint, water footprint. So this is what we try to measure it through the cluster approach, also with the tea.
Okay, what challenges, particularly this SMEs in the Tiruppur cluster face in complying with the ESPR?
The first, to get the ESPR level, the basic crux is you need to get LCAs. We have to get LCAs.
Okay.
And when it comes to LCA, you can do the LCAs, life cycle assessment of products, with secondary data, primary data. And to prove that my cluster, my product for a factory in Tiruppur, you absolutely need a primary data. So how many factories have already collected? Because a lot of factories are doing Higg index, but how many factories have translated the Higg data to LCA? Okay. That could be a challenge. And how many factories have already started with LCA? So I have to really mention this. Now with thanks to ESPR and different regulations, there is a widespread interest, and even you must have seen that 2 days before we had a DPP seminar, a lot of people turned up, and there is a huge interest on, hey, what is this DPP? What can we do better? So it's coming up. But if you talk about challenges, I would say the main one is the data.
Okay.
But any challenge can be overcome. So once we start working with the factories more and more, when we get more primary data, it will be easy for the factories as well as the cluster to show the benefits arising out of any product, any factory, and the cluster as well.
So how can this Tiruppur Knitwear cluster prepare itself for the upcoming regulations, and also align its practices with the EU requirement?
Right. I would say Tiruppur cluster has a lot of benefits in terms of almost all factories have said that.
Yeah.
And many factories have done with many aspirational sustainability practices. For example, including GODS, GRS, depending on the product requirement. And the cluster itself has, for example, salt recovery, recycling of waste. Almost, to my knowledge, I think very little is getting wasted. Otherwise, almost everything is, I visited hundreds of factories here.
Okay.
I also work with a lot of factories. So this is all, aligned in a very positive way, which will bring, say, in the LCA side, we talk about two things. One is impact and benefit. I would say this is all coming up towards benefit side of the Tiruppur exporters side.
Okay.
So, but we need to really measure how many number of factories are having all these practices and what is the entire benefit of all this in terms of getting the environmental footprints or reduced environmental footprints. This is how we should really, focusing upon the efforts to make sure that the whole cluster is preparing the products with least environmental impacts.
Very nice. Coming to the LCA, and particularly life cycle assessment is gaining importance in environmental impacts. So could you explain the practical steps for the knitwear manufacturers to implement the LCA effectively?
Right. When it comes to LCA, we have two scopes or two boundaries. One is, there are many boundaries. One is cradle to gate, another one is cradle to grave or cradle to cradle. Cradle to gate means we'll include from raw material, manufacturing, transportation, and then distribution. We'll just stop that. It's cradle to gate, which is B2B. Another one is you include the cycle till the disposal of the product. Raw material, manufacturing, distribution, use and disposal. There are two. So typically, let's talk about B2B, which is business to business, cradle to gate. So for knitwear, we should begin from the fibers. So let's say mostly natural fibers and whatever, synthetic fibers, let's say recycled policy or policy, any fiber for that matter. We can get the data, from where these fibers are being exported and then, where it is grown. So we have to take the data from secondary side. Then we'll start from the fiber arriving here, then it's being spun, produced in knitted fabric. Again, knitting compared to woven, it's a very, least number of processes within. So the environmental impacts will be accordingly less. Then we'll have a entire processes starting from, chemical processing, including dyeing, finishing, printing, then katsu pack, then it's completely finished. So we have to take into account of all this for the entire supply chain. Some factories, the peculiar part of Tiruppur is, it is not that you have a completely vertically integrated units everywhere. Some will be like, silos. They will just do compacting. Some will be doing only knitting. So we have to just go to this. For example, if you take a product for a manufacturer, if they do different processes, we can get the data from. And if they work with partners, we can go to their factories to collect the data.
Okay.
Finally, we bring all that to that product level and we can do the life cycle assessment. But I want to tell you, sometimes we have challenges. For example, I will do knitting myself. I'll give it to you for compacting. Then I'll bring it back again to dye. I'll give it to him for embroidery. Maybe he must say, I will not give the embroidery data. That's a practical challenge because of volume, all that sort. Very frank. In that case, we can take the embroidery data from secondary.
Okay.
And this is how the LC has to be done. So we have to collect the data from each step of process, each process step, and collect the data for inputs, outputs, and calculate the environmental footprints, energy, water, carbon, or whatever number of indicators you want to do. You can measure as high as 16 indicators as per product environmental footprint.
So how can the Tiruppur cluster leverage insights of, particularly LCA insights to improve both the sustainability and also the cost efficiency?
Absolutely. See, any LCA study, the main purpose of the study is to find out the footprint of the product. That is not alone. Many people think, okay, I get you the footprint. This is 15 kilograms CO2. My job is done. I always say, I'm the first PhD. Like when I did PhD in 2008, no one heard of LCA in textiles. I did the first models, right? So since that I've been telling, you do a LCA study, it is not the end of the story. It's the beginning of the story.
Yeah.
So you find out where are the hotspots, what is the supply chain, what are the reduction levers. So when we talk about, let's say, one manufacturing sector, one manufacturing company in Tiruppur, we do the entire product starting from fiber till the katsu pack. Some they can leverage the reduction, some they cannot. So we need to, as an expert, I try to find out what are the aspects they can immediately get it done, short-term plan. What they can think of, let's say, in 3 years, 5 years. So all this will be part of two levers mainly. One is the sustainability journey. So for example, what practices I have now, whether how efficient they are or how efficient they could become. So thereby you leverage the best out of the whole supply chain. So that gives you the least footprints, competitive edge. Very importantly, when I reduce the energy to 30%, when I reduce the water to 40%, that translates to the cost.
True.
So we find out what are the like hotspots. For example, your steam is X kilogram per kilogram of fabric. We find out, hey, this is according to the benchmark, it is very high. So then we'll try to find out, investigate where this is getting wasted. Maybe you can bring a heat conservoir. For example, giving an example. We also find out that, okay, for per kilogram of yarn, you are using 2 kilowatt hour per kilogram. But on an average industrial benchmark, this is very high. So as an expert, I have done many hundreds of LCAs, so we have got all the data. So we vet the data with the scientific connotation. We find out that is it within the bracket. If not, we red flag it. So we always say, until and otherwise you measure, you can't reduce. So doing the LCA is the first step to be in the journey, which will bring the reduction of the impacts as well as the cost.
Yeah, you are right. When you measure it, you will be able to monitor and also
it's a PDCA cycle. Plan, do, check,
improve it. Yes, correct. Now coming to this digital product passport, that becomes one of the important aspects in ESPR. So here it seems that DPP is the cornerstone of ESPR. How do you see DPP adoption evolving in the Tiruppur network cluster?
Okay. So DPP evolution is really, picking up in a very fast pace, I would say, because we started just a few months ago. Now I can say that it is really picking up because people really have realized that this is what going to open the market for them in Europe. Not only Europe, we also work with American brands, even though it's not a regulation, but they also started looking at, hey, this sounds very good, because the DPP, digital product passport, it in-houses a lot of aspects, which we have shown in the webinar seminar day before yesterday from Greenstone. So that in-houses a lot of the aspects. So people are really, I would say, encouraged to find out, hey, this is what it is. It's a digital, and it's digital, and it comes with all the footprints. So it's easy to recognize, easy to understand, and with the QR code, even you must have seen in the seminar, we circulated the QR code for people to read with mobile. They'll be able to see all this. and also with functional parameters. So DPP is bestowed with a lot of aspects. Okay, so people are really gearing up. Hey, this sounds really very good. People are kind of monotonous with the big reports. So DPP is opening up a new arena with all this information and with the reduction levers. So I'm seeing that there is a big momentum, especially with Tiruppur zone, and people are really gearing up. For example, many people asked us that day in webinars, in the seminar also, Dr. Muthu, we are doing only, let's say, fabric production. Can we get DPP only for our level, or it is for the entire product? I'm doing let's say indigo dyeing with innovation. Can I get DPP? So this kind of involvement and interest has already been created.
Yes.
And that really, that has to bring a quantum leap to the Tiruppur Exporters Association and Tiruppur Exporters.
You have been talking about the data. What are the key data Tiruppur manufacturers need to include in the DPP just to ensure a compliance part?
Right. So when we talk about DPP, again go to LCA. Lifecycle assessment is the methodological crux. So let's talk about cradle to gate. We will start talking about, let's talk about a knitting factory. So we have to find out how many kilograms of yarn they take, maybe for a month or for a year, and how much amount of fabrics they produce, what is the waste they generate, what is the fate of the waste, and what are the other accessories they use. Maybe they use knitting oil, because in knitting you don't have much, and then if they have any other elements. So it's all about how much resources being consumed and what is being produced, let's say product, byproduct, and waste, and what happens to all that. So finally, what is the product produced, how they seal it, pack it, and send it to the next actor in the supply chain. So for example, this is what it is. You talk to dye. So in same way, we need input water, let's say how much water they take, from where the water comes from, how much water they discharge, where the water is going out, is it suddenly, and sludge, what they do with the sludge. Maybe most of the factories give to cement factories. So we'll repurpose that. If they get waste, what they do. So, and what chemicals they buy, from where they buy. Maybe we need CIL, chemical inventory list. So depending on what type of factory we work with, based on that, the information will linger around. Again, what I want to tell is that when it comes to LCA, people get their knees trembling with some data. I want to tell you, it's not really this case. It is very easy. If you work with a right expert, right practitioner, it is all doable. But we always ensure that please get the primary data, because you asked a very wonderful question. What is the very purpose of study? Because we want to find out how can they reduce, how can they improve the performance. And if I take a secondary data, I can give you a improvement plan. So I have to give you an improvement plan based on your own factory, your own supply chain. So for that, primary data is crucial. So you can work with us. We'll be able to help you with data collection. We can make it easy, but we have to get the scientific data. Thereby, we can come out with what we can do, and you will see the results by your eyes. So it's all very clearly understandable benefits you will be able to see.
Could you share some examples, how the DPP have been successfully implemented in other regions or other sector?
Okay. So when it comes to other regions, we worked in, let's say, Vietnam. We worked in Indonesia. We also worked in China. So other regions, similar thing, because it's LCA. But one of the crucial aspects is that, so here in T, we have a cluster-based approach. So we have got a lot of data to make sure that it's all benchmark. But other sectors, maybe with the data preparedness, and they have all done with, let's say, 50,001 for various other aspects, and they have done previous studies. So it makes them a bit easy. And again, when it comes to Tiruppur, especially, the model is a bit decentralized, right? Not many vertically integrated setups. But in other countries, it could be a bit different, but they also have all these exceptions. Not everyone is vertically integrated, but almost the same. But when it comes to preparedness, when it comes to data readiness, it is a bit different from the other clusters. Otherwise, it's the same LCA approach, LCA models.
Can you compare specifically with Bangladesh, how we have more edge or something like
more edge in terms of, for example, see, both the different countries, different clusters are completely different in terms of their own boundaries. Sorry. For example, in Bangladesh, their boundary in terms of water. abundant water and water discharges.
Oh.
It is bit different, and the grid is bit different.
Mm.
And here the renewable energy measures are different. So I think
Yes.
if you look at apple to apple comparison, there are a lot of differences between different pressures.
Okay.
Not only take any country for example, even many countries have different profiles in
Yes.
terms of energy, water, wastewater, chemicals, all that stuff. So they're all a bit different, and we have to include all that to the consideration. In this manner, it is all different in terms of different perspectives.
What are some practical strategies Tiruppur manufacturers can adopt to meet the ESPR requirements while maintaining competitiveness?
Okay. Thank you. Actually, to maintain, you asked very right word, to maintain the competitiveness, right? So competitiveness will not come if you do anything for one go. It has to be throughout. So the practices what Tiruppur manufacturers are doing, it should be throughout. And I can see that Tiruppur manufacturers I've been visiting a lot of factories this week. Each and every factory is unique in terms of various aspirations, various aspects they do. And they have a lot of aspirations in terms of energy conservation. I was in one of the factories yesterday. I was shocked to know that their ETP is class. It is, I must say, one of the best ETPs I've seen. Everything is recycled, including salt. And again, operational wise, parameters are looked at BOD, COD, TDS, TSS. For their effluent pollutant load, what they discharge, or they don't discharge ZLD, but the RO reject is entirely different. So every factory has its own metric when it comes to sustainability. When I say metric, in terms of energy, water, carbon, wastewater, air emissions, waste, chemical. What is very important, pertinent is, please get it measured, get this validated, get it validated by a third party like us, and get it translated to a product level. See, we have been speaking about sustainability practices. So if I say that, hey, my factory is, ZLD, my factory is certified by X, Y, Z, the question obviously comes is, so what? How does it relate to per kilogram of fabric I produce from you compared to the rest? So this part has to be done. And when you do that part, we bring the results onto the table that, hey, this is what is per kilogram of fabric, and you can reduce it, you can improve it further. Please focus on that strategy. Work hand in hand with people like us. Make sure that it is all throughout till you reach the ultimate destiny. So then you get into the competitiveness with a competitive edge.
True.
And you also sustain the sustainability efforts. If it comes, let's say, DPP for 3 products and you forget, that's not sustainable.
Very nice, very nice. So how can collaborations within the cluster enhance resource efficiency and compliances with the sustainability requirements?
Yeah, see, when it comes to a cluster, not only cluster, when it comes to a supply chain, for example, without collaboration, nothing is possible. I give you a simple example. I buy yarn from you. You are my spinner. I come to you. Periasamy sir, I need your data. You say, I will not give you. Done. The chain is broken. Where can we achieve? But in case if you are open to give me, but I must say, I mean it. Now the collaboration has really become much, much more improved. True. People really understood that collaboration is key because it's the end of the day win-win. And I've also talked to a lot of factories. I told them, look, this is not their business. It is for the collective business. So when I do calculate the footprint of a yarn, we'll also calculate the footprint from a fiber. So you will get to know your footprint. He will also get to know his footprint. So that is what a simple example.
They have to be very transparent.
Absolutely. And then they should not think that it's a trademark secret. There's nothing like this. The moment you come out of that break, you have to come out of that barrier. It is all going to be very transparent, very open. People will be able to realize the whole thing. So when it comes to one supply chain, you can understand the same importance for the cluster. So Tiruppur cluster, you work with spinners, dyers, printers, finishers, packages, like packaging association. So if all join hands together and they give the data, so it is for the benefit of the entire sector rather than for one particular person.
Yeah.
Because if the world is getting benefited, you are in the world, you are going to be benefited. So you and I cannot say that the world is benefited, but me and Periasamy are benefited. That sounds very weird, right? So that is how the cluster approach and the collaborative aspect or collaborativeness from each association or supply chain actor. That is the key.
Do you see opportunities for Tiruppur manufacturer to set themselves apart as leaders of sustainable practices?
100%. It is not only for them, for anyone. So when I started doing after my PhD, I started doing this business in 2011. People say, if I go and talk about carbon footprint, what? Carbon footprint, what are you talking about? So we started selling. I must say, those days, we did carbon footprint for some manufacturers. They are the leaders today. So it's all about marathon race. Who runs first, they become the leaders. I run first, you follow me. He follows you next, so he becomes the third one. So, we become like this way. So for Tiruppur, as I already recorded, I have visited hundreds of factories. Everyone has its own practices. For example, one of the factories day before yesterday, I visited the energy engineer, shrewdest energy engineer I've ever seen. The moment I went, I said, how did you calculate your steam efficiency? He gave me equation. I was really, we used to do it with enthalpy equations. Entropy. Okay. He did a simple math. He showed me, sir, this is what I did. Is it right? I was shocked. Oh my God. So, and he said, I asked, what are the parameters? How do you play with efficiency? He said, this is what it is. And he makes sure that efficiency doesn't drop. He makes sure that it is completely bestowed to the best efficiency. I'm just giving an example. So you have your own technology. It's everywhere, but I'm talking about Tiruppur, right? So this all have to be realized. This is all can be possible once you undertake the studies from a professional organization. Do it through LCA study.
Yes.
You bring the results onto the table, bring it to limelight. Then things will be very clear.
Yeah, coming to the role of technology and innovation, how can technology such as AI, blockchain, to support compliance with the ESPR and streamline the creation of LCA and DPPs?
Right. See, any technology innovation, for example, specifically to AI. So compliance side, transparency side, without this, new technologies such as AI, it's very difficult. Because if you talk about different tiers, right? So some of the tiers is very difficult for a manual approach to go for studying the transparency, traceability, right? For example, cotton, you have to start from seed, and then you have to track it the whole chain back to the finished product. Thanks to AI, it is very, they have made it very easy. Okay. So when it comes to compliance is not going to be per se one element. It is going to be for the entire supply chain, where two T's are very important: transparency and traceability. Without this advent of new technologies, it is possible, but it is very time consuming, resource consuming. So now you have Chat GPT, for everything. They have made our life easier. So thanks to them, even we can make use of their benefits to make sure that the compliances are up to the mark to meet the regulations in terms of ESPR or for that matter anything.
Okay. What innovative approaches do you foresee that would help Tiruppur become a global leader in sustainable knitwear production?
Okay. See, innovations can come from any part. Could be from the production side. Let's say, I have also written a lot of books on sustainable innovations in textiles and clothing. Okay, so that comes from fiber side. There are a lot of innovations coming up. Recycle, upside. There are a lot of innovations coming up. Coming to the spinning side, many innovations are coming up. Fabrication, dyeing, finishing, so processing side. Apart from that, all the processing side, we come to the entire supply chain elements. Okay. For example, there are a lot of innovations coming up in terms of energy elements. Water, wastewater. There are a lot of innovations. Even raw material. So entire supply chain has been bestowed with a lot of innovations. So all these innovations can really be very helpful in terms of make sure that the preparedness, competitiveness, and then meeting the regulations are done with the ultimate aim is to get the least footprint. So that's all possible. See, without innovations, we have been doing spinning for almost how many hundreds of years. So now, thanks to all this depth spinning, edge spinning, long time before. Now we also have a lot of new spinning systems. So all that is any innovation today, for sure, it is all bestowed or it has an eye on what it is going to do with the sustainability. Yeah. Right? So if you have innovations, innovative elements, that all has to be linked to sustainability. What is the missing link? We also work with few universities. Myself, I work with universities. So I also tell the professors, like, if you look about any innovations, please include a piece of what is sustainability. Sure. What this has to do. Now I produce two pens. One is a sustainable pen. Another one is a non-sustainable. Let's say conventional and an innovative approach. But this innovative, what this will bring onto the table in terms of sustainability parameters. Be it energy, water, wastewater, air emissions, chemical, could be anything. Yes. So without that, the innovations will be of no use, because today you see the entire world is completely revolving around sustainability. So that's how it's going to be.
So, coming to the future outlook, in your opinion, how will ESPR reshape that global supply chains, and where does Tiruppur fit into this new ecosystem?
As I already said, ESPR is focusing upon various elements. So key elements like durability. When you look at the entire life cycle of the product, depending on the products, the major hotspots come in the use and disposal. So, producing a product which is long lasting, durable, that really automatically reduces the impacts. So we also have done a lot of studies on number of wears with RAB. Different organizations, have come up with many methodologies. I have also devised a lot of methodologies on calculating the functional life of the product, right? That's number one. Second one is about recyclability. As I said, recycled materials use is different. I'm producing a product which is recyclable is different. Many people don't get to know this, basic differences between these concepts. So then third one is very ultimatum is reducing the environmental impact. Do whatever you want, but it has to be bestowed with the least footprints, be it energy, be it blue water, be it carbon footprint. So this is all have to be really focused upon. And ESPR is aiming to get all this through Ecodesign, which is LCA. And Tiruppur manufacturers, gear up the momentum with collection of primary data to prove not only cradle to gate, they should go beyond gate, where they will be able to include the functional parameters. Let's say a knitted product, how many cycles it can withstand. Different tests, different functional tests, different ecological tests, performance tests. So, for example, if I take a T-shirt which is used for, let's say, 50 times, but I get a T-shirt from, say, X manufacturer, it is going to last for 70 times. So that 20 times is going to really bring down the impacts. So LC is all about, alleviating the impacts, right, and also distributing the impacts in different stages. So it is all going to be that. And whatever you do with the supply chain, entire supply chain, you do a lot of elements. For example, spinners are always taking the soft waste. They bring it back. So that has to be measured, and how much waste they bring it back. So how much that reduces, how much it all transfers to your relationship. For example, so likewise, every supply chain is coming out with the primary data, validate, bring it to the product level. Then this is the way forward. And if we can get it done, let's say for a manufacturer, all the products are done with DPPs or life cycle impacts. Nothing like, so you have the complete data, the complete leverage, complete levers. What can be done in 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. So the map is very clear, because now we are targeting 2030 with a lot of associations. A lot of associations have asked people to abide by 2030 goals. So if you can get this, it's already we are in 2024 end. So now we left with only 6 years. So I would say it's not urgent, rather emergent to act upon.
So what role do you envision, particularly for Green Story, in helping Tiruppur Knitwear cluster for its sustainability goals?
Right. So when it comes to from Green Story side, we completely envision to talk about reducing the environmental impacts of textiles and fashion, because we are a completely textile and fashion company. We don't work with any other products. We say, we marry to textile and fashion. We don't touch any other products. And then we also talk about our goal is, what would if every customer used my product, ask what is my impact? So we try to get this information to the ultimate end user of the product. So we aim to work with the Tiruppur Exporters Association as well as Tiruppur manufacturers. We started working with a lot of manufacturers now in the recent months for LCAs and DPPs. I've been working with Tiruppur manufacturers for more than a decade. But now, thanks to ESPR and DPP, people understand this. So we work with all this, and we want to bring a difference in terms of our LC expertise. And we also have a SaaS platform which can help Tiruppur manufacturers to scale. Because it's not feasible for everyone to do LC of all the products through a normal approach of getting the data, calculating through a software. So we come out with an innovative SaaS platform, intelligent platform, which can help manufacturers to scale the life cycle assessment of all the products, and they can do LCA with ease. And we come out with an approach of primary data, validating the data. That's very important, because you give a data, let's say 10. So what does it mean? That 10 could be a random number. We want to validate, make sure it's scientifically precise, accurate. So that's where we differentiate us from the rest. So we don't accept any numbers as it is, unless we validate. And we also have a benchmark. data. We work with a lot of manufacturers. We have primary data. So we benchmark it and make sure that the numbers are better and the numbers are precise, correct. So we like to help with all the manufacturers to realize their goals. And when we do the study, we don't, as I said, okay, we did the study, this is your report, thank you, bye-bye. No, we say that, okay, thank you, we entered into the beginning of the story. So this is what the study is. Let's start working together, together to reducing the impacts. So we want to work together to make sure that a manufacturer is reaching the ultimatum of whatever goals they have. Even we are happy to help them to set their goals or remodify the goals depending on the results or depending on our observations, depending on our measurements. We are happy to work with them hand in hand to make sure that they are ultimately beneficial, and end of the day, the planet is going to be beneficial.
So how can these stakeholders like policymakers, exporters, manufacturers collaborate to make ESPR compliance a smooth transition for the cluster?
Right. This is a bit a kind of difficult question. In terms of, I think everyone understands. If you ask me, did anyone not understand? I would say no, because everyone understands the need. Because sustainability the need has been obvious. Everyone knows that it's a need of the hour. Okay. When it comes to the collaborative efforts, right, I think everyone has to support each other. For example, when from Tiruppur cluster we go and ask X association, they should be able to give us the data, and they should understand that it is for the entire cluster. The cluster is going to be benefited. So it is not only the supply chain actors, it is also for the organizations and NGOs. So whatever data, whatever support they need, because many people, when we approach them, they just come with some stumbling blocks. And if you can look at, some can be easily manageable. Let's say the data part, or some can be easily manageable. Maybe they might need a support. Maybe they can say, okay, can you just do some other, in few other countries, some organizations like NGOs, they adapt 30-40 factories. They said, okay, you make a collaborative effort with all the factories. Please go and study the water emission. I've done a lot of studies in different countries. So we try to in-house, let's say 40 manufacturers. We take them under a pilot study. We bring them under one roof. We study their practices. Then we calculate the footprints and we tell them that this is what we need to do. Maybe this is something NGOs or any organizations can work with us to bring it to a very positive impact to the entire society. And whomever need, we are absolutely open. We are very much approachable. We are here to make the planet green and absolutely livable with the least footprints.
Thank you, Dr. Muthu. Really, it is a very insightful discussion, and looking forward to collaborate with the Tiruppur cluster with the Green Story.
Thank you very much for asking all these very insightful questions. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.